Hello. Welcome, my beautiful boys and girls, where we dive into the wildest, most unhinged stories from Reddit. Today we've got 6 insane tales of train nerds schooling teachers, neighbors losing their side hustles, and petty workplace revenge. Are these Redditors heroes or villains? You decide. Grab your popcorn, hit that like button, and let's jump into the chaos. I'm a 16-year-old Spanish who loves trains. Trust me, it's important for the story. So, this happened a while back at my high school. We had this geography teacher who made the hardest exams ever. He would ask us to apply perfectly something we did in class, define a bunch of words the same way the book says, and then 3 maps, one of Spain and the other 2 of 2 different continents, and we had to say the country/region with its capital or else it wouldn't count. A little more context. In Spain we have 3 terms/evaluations per year where they tell us the grades. Only the last one counts as official grades. And in the second term I was doing horrible to the point of failing 3 subjects. Arts, technology, I couldn't do a project the teacher sent because I didn't have a computer, and geography. To be fair, only 3 students out of 20 in my class passed geography on the second term. So the teacher, he didn't say it but it was clear by his looks, thought we were stupid bad students. But then it came the time of talking about industry, which I know a lot about thanks to my love for trains. And finally he started to talk about trains. He started by explaining how in a steam train, the boiler is full of tubes that are full of water. Wrong, and the heat of the fire turned the water into steam. So I couldn't resist. I raised my hand and he asked me what I wanted. I just said, "That's wrong, it's the other way around, can I go and show?" He said yes. I immediately deleted the drawing he made on the board and made my own, this time the correct one, and I explained it. You can skip to the next paragraph if you're not interested. In a steam locomotive, the boiler is full of tubes that go from the place where the coal is burned to the front where the chimney is, and hot air goes through the tubes heating the water and turning it into steam that then goes to the cylinders and powers the wheels. Then the exhaust steam goes through a little valve that speeds the smoke out of the chimney. The look on my teacher's face was priceless, and after class he started asking me stuff about trains. After that, my classmates thanked me for making that man shut up and started calling me train driver, maquinista in Spanish, and they still call me that even after a year. Also, the teacher ended up being nice to me and asking me things about trains like I was his friend. It was awesome. There are comments that, this kid went from failing geography to schooling his teacher on trains. Erasing the board and dropping facts? That's a maquinista mic drop. Some viewers asked questions. Would you have called out the teacher like this or stayed quiet? Have you ever had a moment where you proved a teacher wrong? Share below. From a train-loving teen to a neighborly showdown. Neighbor starts parking in front of our house, refuses to park elsewhere, ends up that she's running an illegal short-term rental that gets shut down by the zoning commissioner after being taken to court. I live in a small neighborhood with maybe 20 total homes. Each home has about 50+ feet of road frontage, 3+ car garages and large driveways, and parking is permitted on both sides of the street. As such, there's never a reason to park in front of a home that isn't yours/that you're not visiting unless there's some sort of event. Most of the neighbors are friendly and know each other, so in the time I've lived here, parking has never been an issue. Until last month. Last month, a neighbor from the far other end of the development started parking daily and overnight, in the smack dab middle of our property's road frontage. Odd, but maybe she's having work done on her driveway and wants to park away from the fumes? Things happen, not a big deal. But after 5 nights of this I'm getting a little fed up. The yard guys can't cut the grass where her car is located. Deliveries of large items are postponed because they can't get up our driveway without the extra turning radius. So I leave a note, I know, on her windshield. It's a quick note explaining that it'd normally be a non-issue, but we have some deliveries coming and it'd help us if she could move her car back to her home this week. Edit for clarity. The note did not ask her to move permanently, but asked if she could move temporarily for 3 days. I think we asked, so we could mow without getting grass on her car and so that the delivery drivers could get in the driveway. We had a few large deliveries that required big trucks with large turn radiuses. No response, but the note is gone the next morning. The car is still there and our other neighbor texts us. AOP, you may want to watch out for me, neighbor. She started cussing me out for the note left on her windshield and said it was public property so she could park there as much as she wants. Not cool, but since I don't want to pick a fight, what is there to be done? The next time she moves her car, I pull my own in front of my house. This does not make her happy and she spends the next few days flipping off my Ring doorbell from the street, and leaving notes on my car that are never threatening but never kind, like FCKU and Lipchard. Game on. I did not get revenge for her parking in an obviously public place as explained, but for her flipping me off, cursing me out, and leaving cruel notes on our car when we parked in front of our own home. It didn't take much digging to realize there were regularly unusual out-of-state cars parked at her actual home, and even less digging to find her home listed on Airbnb for way more per night than her entire mortgage. A few quick calls to the county and wouldn't you know it? Airbnb and short-term rentals are completely forbidden, no exceptions in our neighborhood. On top of that, the county zoning commissioner finds out she's been renting out her home for almost half a decade, and each rental violation equates to a $250 fine. You can do the math. I'm not sure what happened after, but we do know she received a court order of some sort, and more importantly, that she stopped parking in front of our house. Guess she had to find a job that didn't include flipping people off all day. There are comments that, this neighbor went from parking wars to losing her Airbnb empire. Flipping off the Ring doorbell? She's the star of her own petty reality show. Some viewers asked questions. Would you have reported her Airbnb like this, or just kept parking in her spot? Have you ever had a neighbor feud like this? Share below. From a neighborhood showdown to an office power play. I have a coworker who is incredibly lazy. She's never been a hard worker, but within the last year it's gotten bad. She could technically retire but chooses not to for whatever reason. Which I wouldn't mind if you actually did your job, but not only will she never help the office, she doesn't even get her own damn work done. As you can probably tell, this woman annoys the hell out of me for a multitude of reasons. We have a system in our office where all customer questions go into the same queue. If it's an email, a voicemail, part of an online chat conversation with an employee in another department, it goes into this queue. For whatever reason, anytime my coworker encounters a question that will take more than about 10 seconds to answer, she assigns it to me. Which yes, I am very knowledgeable about our department. However, this woman has worked here 3 times as long as I have, and should know these things herself. Today she assigns me a question, and as soon as I read it, I have no idea why she assigned it to me, because she should have assigned it to my boss and or talked to my boss about it. As mentioned, I assign it to my boss and then go and tell her about it. During the beginning of our conversation, I overhear said coworker on the phone, ordering food for lunch. Usually she hangs up the phone, waits about 5 minutes and then heads over to pick up the food. Well, I'm still in my boss's office talking about this question. I should probably mention my manager loves to talk, and while I'm usually trying to slowly back out of her office to end a conversation, this time I take a seat and proceed to actively engage. So, the minutes are ticking by and my coworker can't take her break because someone always needs to be office and obviously I'm unavailable. At one point, I kind of tilt the chair so I can see her out of the corner of my eye, and I can tell she's just itching to run out of here, but she can't leave. What should have been, at most, a 5-minute conversation, turns into a 20-minute conversation. Then I added a little more revenge because as soon as I left my manager's office, I ran out of our office to use the restroom, just to delay her break even further. I can't tell you how satisfied I feel right now. There are comments that, this coworker thought she could dump work and dip for lunch? Trapping her with a 20-minute chat and a bathroom dash? That's petty revenge perfection. Some viewers asked questions. Would you have stalled her break like this or confronted her directly? Have you ever gotten revenge on a lazy coworker? Share below. From office pettiness to a garden grudge, our next story takes us to a quiet village where a teen's bike met a nail-filled lesson. Was this too harsh? Let's dig in. This happened about 20 years ago, back when our village was still quiet and far less populated than it is today. Just dirt roads, wide open yards, and neighbors who knew each other well enough to ask for sugar, coffee, hot water, or start a feud over a fence line. There was this teenage boy from a few houses down, around 14 or 15, who loved riding his beat-up BMX like he was training for the X Games. The main dirt road passed right by our property, but for whatever reason he preferred cutting through our yard, and not just anywhere but straight through my father's plants. My dad had a small garden back then. Nothing fancy, just some shrubs, flowering plants and a few vegetables growing in neat rows. It was his pride, something he tended to every day. So you can imagine his frustration every time the kid zoomed through and left tire marks across the soil. Dad warned him, more than once. Stick to the road. Don't ride over the plants. The boy would nod and mumble an apology, but the next afternoon, there he'd be again, carving tracks right where he wasn't supposed to. Now, my dad isn't the kind to yell or make a scene, but he is the kind to get a little creative. One day he went out back to the old shed near the edge of our property. It was a broken down thing, leaning to one side and filled with old tools and scrap wood. From inside he pulled out a nasty-looking plank, weathered and full of rusty nails. It looked like it had fallen off the shed itself. He placed it just off the edge of the garden, right where the kid usually cut across, and lightly covered it with some dry leaves and dirt. It blended in perfectly. To anyone riding through fast, it'd just look like a patch of ground. The next day, like clockwork, we heard the familiar sound of bike tires crunching dirt. Then pop, hiss, followed by a startled yell. The boy had hit the trap dead on. Front tire was blown out. He stood there staring at his bike in disbelief. About an hour later he came back, with his mother. She was angry, demanding to know why there were nails on the ground. Dad met them calm as ever. "Why would you do something like that?" she asked, pointing at the boy's damaged bike. Dad just said, "Where exactly was he riding?" The boy, quietly and with a bit of guilt, pointed toward the garden. "And where did I tell him not to ride?" my father asked. There was a long silence. Then the mom turned to her son and gave him a scolding so fierce I think the birds flew out of the trees. No more questions. No more blaming. Just a red-faced teenager and his mom hauling the busted bike home down the very dirt road he should have stayed on in the first place. My dad? He went back to watering his plants like nothing happened. The garden stayed undisturbed after that. There are comments that, "This dad went full home alone with a nail trap for a BMX bandit. Kid learned his lesson and the garden's safe?" That's a green thumb win. Some viewers asked questions. Was the nail plank too much or just right for teaching the kid a lesson? Have you ever had to protect your property like this? Share below. From a garden trap to a stinky surprise. I, 44F, live in an upper-middle-class neighborhood that's pretty vast. 75 or so homes, built between 70s to 90s. No HOA, but a neighborhood association and crime watch org, neither of which I am a part of. We purchased the home in 21. Everyone we've met have been very friendly for the most part. My children are teenagers, so we haven't explored much of our neighborhood. We often see other people that I assume live elsewhere, park in front of my home or near it to walk our neighborhood as well. A couple of years ago we adopted a puppy. I checked out the distance of the bordering streets of our neighborhood, one of which our home sits on, and found it is 3.20 miles, so walking the outer edges of the neighborhood became my normal dog walking route. A few weeks ago, our local park was closed for renovations, so I began exploring all the connecting streets inside my neighborhood to give him new things to see and smell. This of course gave opportunity to meet new neighbors. I have an earbuds on walks, so it's mostly simple pleasantries, sometimes a quick conversation. It's been largely lovely until a couple of days ago. Walking in about the middle of a new street we had not been on before, there isn't much through traffic, I noticed a 60-ish M in his yard by his garage. I gave a cursory smile and wave but noticed he was speaking. Taking my earbud out as I walked towards his yard I asked, "What was that?" He replied, "Keep your dog off my grass." I was a little shocked by the rudeness and tone, so I replied with a sort of giggle, "He wasn't near your grass, but okay." I'm shaking my head, walking away. Louder now, he yells, "I don't give a goddamn, it's my grass and I don't want the fucker on it." I was almost too stunned to speak, but I managed, "Well, I don't want it strange bloated men barking orders at me, so when he shits in your yard you can say something, until then go fuck yourself." I'm walking fast, calling my husband, completely enraged. I was literally carrying a bag of crap in my hand because I'm not an asshole and I pick up after my dog. I'm about 2 streets over when I see a black Suburban creeping past a stop sign. It's him. I recognized it from his driveway. He's speeding up to me, I think to run me or my dog over. We hop into someone's yard off the curb. He speeds by and yells, "Fuck you bitch," while giving me his fat red finger out of the window. Now, I'm smoking with anger, my dog is confused, but he just let me know that no one is home at his house. I circled back and opened my steaming bag in the center of his driveway, being careful to gauge where his tires would hit. It was a heavy load too, about 4 turds. But it wasn't enough, I'm still angry. I go home, look up his address, find his name, socials, all that. His birthday is in 2 days. I smile cause I know I'll have a special present for him. I called my most unhinged friend that happens to have 2 dogs, she's happy to collect samples for me. At home I do the same and in 2 days' time have a ripe pile of shit from 3 dogs. I purchased a manila envelope, grabbed some Easter crinkle confetti paper and some gloves to get working his birthday present. I'm sure to grab the envelopes with bubble wrap on the inside. I address it to him and write "Happy Birthday" in large letters underneath, stuff it with dog shit and fill just the top with enough crinkle paper that it's hard to see what's inside. I walk it, alone, to his home on his birthday and put it in his paper box very early, then I come back at mail time and wait on the nearest cross street hidden. I see him come out directly after the mail truck, he grabs my manila envelope. Yes, I can taste the revenge on my tongue. I'm about to walk the opposite direction home but I see him opening the envelope. A front row seat, this is beautiful. He is halfway up his driveway when I hear, "What the foo," followed by, "God damn it to hell," as he trying to fling shit from his hand. I start running. I know he was going to instinctively look around. I'm out of there. My heart was jackhammering in my chest. I'm out on a main road before I slow down to a normal walk and made it back home without incident. This was 2 days ago and I haven't quit laughing since, and I think I'm satisfied, for now anyway. From a stinky surprise to a sales sabotage. English is not my first language and my life is boring, but I'm petty. Please feel free to correct me on any misspelling/grammar issues. I work at a small shop that employs only my boss, owner, 40s Asian, and I, 20s local. I've worked there for a few years, edit, 6 years. I'm the only one to last longer than 2 months on the job. Understandable, the place is a mess and the job is quite physical, but hours are flexible and I get along with the owner, so it's okay. I know all the salespeople, remember most of the customers, and know almost exactly what we have at all times. My boss doesn't keep track of what we have. Add to that my boss' lack of understanding of how things are often done here, in the country and in this specific town/area, and a language barrier that should have disappeared by now, 20 plus years after him coming to this country, but he never made an effort, and that's an advantage for me. There's this older, 60s, guy that's been selling us gas-related products lately, edit, few months. He seems nice to my boss, says hello and makes small talk with male customers. But I've noticed him ignoring me and any non-male customers. I've made it a point to say hi, introduce myself, but he ignored me and talked over me, focusing only on my boss. He'd even interrupt when I needed to communicate something job-related, acting like his sales were more important than us actually running the shop. Big mistake on his part. Now my pettiness started small. Making a point to be louder when greeting him like he was losing his hearing. Subtle jabs around women when he ignored them or tried to redirect boss attention to him instead of the customers who needed his help. But at some point I had enough. The biggest perk of controlling like 90% of the shop myself is that I know how much space we have, what people ask for, and what we have. Most shop customer interactions fall on me, so it's on me to offer products or alternatives. And this guy is a small fish in a big sea of other fish. I started suggesting my boss buys most of what this guy tries to sell to our other suppliers instead. And what the guy has that others don't, or any new things, I convince him to buy less. To give a few examples, this guy always offers new products and tries to get my boss to buy at least 3 to 5 to see how they do. I keep making my boss buy only one because the salesman shows up every month anyway. Or if I know people haven't been asking about that product or are okay with an alternative, I tell him not to buy it. There are some gas cans we get at about the same price from another supplier, so I tell him to get it from the other guys who deliver to us bi-weekly and bring other stuff too, which makes it easier to us, more frequent deliveries, less chances for the stuff to break, and we have no storage area, so everything has to go on/under the shelves, so we can't buy much more than we can fit there. I know it's not very exciting, but watching his face fall to disappointment when I discourage my boss, or to annoyance/anger/discomfort when I'm around is very satisfying. And to make it a bigger point, whenever he actually acknowledges me from the start and is not a prick to women, I don't push back as much, or you/wumpus fails, thanks for the correction in comments. I'll even let my boss know we're low on something. This guy shouldn't be in sales, he still hasn't made the be nice to the lady to sell more connection in his head just yet. He might retire without making it, but at that point it will no longer be my problem. Gifts and sales sabotage, these Reddit stories were pure chaos. Who was the pettiest in these tales? You tell me. Drop your own wild Reddit stories in the comments. I'm obsessed. If you love this drama, smash that like button, subscribe to blow up, and ring the bell for more internet insanity. Thanks for watching, catch you next time.